guys, welcome to today's video. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Hannah if you don't know me already, and I'm so excited for today's video because I love talking about my favorite books, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. For this video, I'm going to be giving you 3 book recommendations for 3 different genres. I'm going to be giving you my favorite recommendations for the romance category, the fantasy category, and the young adult category. Alright, let's just jump right into it. First up, I'm going to be talking about some fantasy book recs. This is my fantasy book recommendations. So I'm going to first recommend to you the Lightlark book series. These are some of my favorite books I have ever read. I have heard some people read this series and say that they don't actually like this book series. I do not understand that because this is like truly, I love this book series with every part of me. Truly, I love this series so much. The plot of this overall series is that once every 100 years, the island of Lightlark appears to host a deadly game where 6 rulers from 6 different realms have to come together and compete against each other to break their realm's curse. The only way to break a curse is if one of the other rulers dies, and so that just adds to the spice of the games and just like the fun of the plot. This book is romantic, I would say, so there is romance in it, and I will admit to you, like, the first book in the series, Lightlark, actually doesn't have too much spice in it, maybe like 1 or 2 scenes, but as the books kind of progress and you get farther along in the story, there is more and more spice. And I remember that really actually disappointed me because I personally am just not someone who likes to read spice. I just try and skip over the chapters when it like comes up in the plot. So I really enjoyed book 1 because there wasn't too much spice in it, but I was able to easily kind of overlook the spice element in it because I just loved the plot so much and the characters. It was just so easily like overlookable. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm gonna go with it. Another thing I like about this series is that it has my favorite trope in it, which is a love triangle. I know I was just talking about the romance. And this book series has easily the best love triangle I have ever seen in my life. Alright, next up is another fantasy series that is very close to my heart, and that is the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. If somehow you don't know what it's about, it follows our main character, Evangeline Fox, who is someone that just really, from the depths of her heart, she does believe that happy endings exist and that true love is real until she learns that the love of her life is about to marry another person. And so in order to stop that wedding from happening, she strikes a deal with the very wicked but charismatic Prince of Hearts. His name is Jax. And in exchange for stopping the wedding, he asks Evangeline to give him 3 kisses of his choosing when he wants and with who he wants. And very quickly she realizes that the Prince of Hearts has a lot more in mind for her than she originally thought. One of my favorite things about this series though is the writing style. Stephanie Garber, who is the author of this series, is truly just one of the most, like, how do I even explain it? Her writing style really does make you feel like you're living in a fairy tale, and it also brings you back to that like nostalgic feeling you had when you were like 5 years old listening to your mom kind of read to you in bed like a fairy tale about a prince and a princess and a castle. It just gives you that kind of nostalgic feeling. I feel like that's the best way to explain it. The writing style is so peak. Outside of that though, there is a huge plot of romance in this book, and the romance is so good. And yeah, just thinking about it, I'm like, maybe I should reread this book series again this summer because it was just so good. Okay, the last fantasy book series that I have to recommend you is Daughter of No Worlds. These are very big books, but they are so worth reading. If you don't know what the plot of this book series is, it follows our main character whose name is Tisana, and she is a former slave girl who escapes captivity, and she seeks like safety and shelter, a safe haven if you will, in this magical organization called the Orders. As she is training in the Orders to go back and free her friends, she realizes that although she thought the Orders were like the good guys, they have a lot of dark secrets of their own that they are keeping from the public. I'll also say that this fantasy book truly is like none of the other books because there is a specific character in these books that has so many layers to their character. I don't want to say anything more because I don't want to give anything away, but just trust me when I say that this book is truly like one of the most unique storylines I have ever read. So yeah, those are 3 of my recommendations for fantasy series that I personally loved. Now we're going to talk about romance books. So now that we're in the romance category, let's start off strong with Happy Place by Emily Henry. This was an immediate 5 stars for me. I didn't even have to think about it. I just had that feeling. If you don't know what the plot is about, it basically follows our main characters, Harriet and Wynne, who are just the perfect couple. They have been dating for years, and they are part of this friend group that every year they plan a getaway with each other. But this year, what all of the friends don't know is that Harriet and Wynne actually broke up 5 months prior. They're just going to fake date their way through the trip, and that's exactly what they do. And don't get me wrong, I love romance. This is literally a romance book, but this book also deeply dives into like friendships. Everything about this book so good. You have to read it if you haven't already. All right, my next recommendation is definitely a different kind of romance. This one is called You've Reached Sam by Dustin Theo. First, just take a moment to look at how beautiful this cover is. All right, I'm gonna say right off the bat, this is a sad romance. It is a romance, it's just more of a sad one, and I don't know about you, I know some people really don't like sad romances. They want the ending to be happy and bubbly. This one is not that, but I still love it. I'm just drawn to sad romances sometimes because I feel like they draw different emotions from me than reading just a regular romance. So if you decide to pick this book up, just make sure you have a box of tissues with you because it is very emotional, but it's very good. This book follows our main character, Julie, who's navigating her grief because her boyfriend of so many years had just passed away. They were like in love and he just passed away very suddenly. There was nothing she could do to stop it, but she still feels like a lot of it was her fault, the events leading up to his death. And one day she's really mourning his death, so she decides to actually call his phone number just so that she can hear his voice in the voicemail. But instead of getting his voicemail, he actually picks up the phone on the other end and they are able to talk. Very interesting plots, as you can tell, but this book was so good. It really puts you all on your feels. This book deals with grief and loss and love and young love and overcoming hard obstacles, hard emotional obstacles especially, which I love reading about emotions. I've told you like 6 times already, but I love emotional things. It is a romance book, it's just a sad romance book. So if that sounds good to you, you should definitely pick it up. All right, next up, this is also a very different kind of romance, but I wanted to give you options. The third and final romance book I have to recommend you is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. This book is a retelling of the story of Hosea within the Bible, so it is like Christian faith-based. There's no spice in it. It's very clean, very wholesome, but so powerful. I want to give this book justice with the description, so I'm actually going to read it off the back for you because I just feel like that would be more meaningful than me rambling about my words trying to describe it properly. This book follows Angel. She expects nothing from men but betrayal. She was sold into prostitution as a child. She survives by keeping her hatred alive. But what she hates most are the men who use her, leaving her empty and dead inside. Then she meets Michael Hosea, a man who seeks his father's heart in everything. Michael obeys God's call to marry Angel and to love her unconditionally. Slowly, day by day, he defies Angel's every bitter expectation until, despite her resistance, her frozen heart begins to thaw. But with her unexpected softening come overwhelming feelings of unworthiness and fear, and so Angel runs back to the darkness, away from her husband's pursuing love. Terrified of the truth she no longer can deny, her final healing must come from the one who loves her even more than Michael does, the one who will never let her go. In my opinion, this book really just truly shows the unconditional love of God through Hosea, the main character, because even as Angel is like just running back to this lifestyle that she's so used to, even though she doesn't want to be in it, Michael comes in and he just breaks all of those expectations that Angel has for why men are so bad, why they use her in such promiscuous ways, and he just shows her what true love really looks like, because he is always chasing her, going after her with just...
I didn't do that. I literally didn't do that, bro.
Michael just shows her really what true love looks like, and it was one of the most powerful stories of unconditional love that I've ever read. So very different from the other recommendations, but if it sounds interesting to you, you should definitely pick it up because Again, it was just so emotional and so powerful. I had to put it on this list. Okay, now that we are moving on to the YA recommendations, I'm going to recommend to you I Fell in Love with Hope by Lan Colley. This book follows a group of hospital patients who are all battling with their own terminal illnesses, and they try to embrace the joys that are within their reach. Things like friendship with each other, freedom of the mind, and rebellion against their sicknesses. Each character within the story is so broken in their own way, but they're stronger for it. When I was reading this book, I felt like I was reading one super long poem. I know that sounds crazy, but truthfully, that is just how pretty the writing is in this book. You can tell how much I liked it because I annotated all of it. You can definitely tell from the description, but one of the main themes in this book is friendship and overcoming not just like physical battles, but also the mental ones, the ones that stir within us, ones that we deal with internally, and that is just such a incredible theme to talk about. This book was beautiful. It talked about loss, pain, grief, love, and most importantly, hope. Hope is such a powerful theme to talk about, and this book just showed the power that hope can hold in our lives even when we're at our lowest, and that's just something I feel like I took with me. I learned so many lessons from this book. Next up in the YA category, we have The Inheritance Games. This book follows our main character whose name is Avery Grams, and she's a high school student. One random day, a billionaire named Tobias Hawthorne dies, and he leaves Avery his entire fortune, which is crazy because Avery and Tobias are not related at all. The only catch though is that she has to move into a mansion with the Hawthorne grandsons and solve some mysteries, decode some riddles. But one of the Hawthorne grandsons named Grayson is convinced that Avery is a con woman. She's conning her way into this family to steal the fortune from them, who it should rightfully belong to. One thing I want to mention about this book series is it is YA. There is no spice in it, but there are some romance plots in it. This book series is so fun because, like, when are you gonna read a book series that has all of these riddles that you as the reader can also like play along and try to solve along with the main character? I feel like I have not read any books like that before, but this one does it so well. There are riddles and codes and mysteries that you as the reader gets to play along and try and solve. Alright, my last and final YA book rec for you has got to be Wings of Starlight by Alison Saft. Sorry, I didn't know the author's name. Does this cover look familiar at all to you? Because any Tinkerbell fans would know exactly what this book is about. This book follows Queen Clarion from the Tinkerbell movies, but before she was ever queen. So this book follows her life leading up to her becoming queen, when she was in training and all of that. Yeah, the top literally says, before she was queen of Pixie Hollow, she was a young fairy who had to choose between duty and her heart. It's been centuries since a warm season fairy had crossed into the winter woods, and while most fear the legends of monsters lurking in the frozen lands, Clarion can't help but be intrigued by the winter's stoic beauty. However, under the watchful eyes of the current monarch and the court's seasonal ministers, Clarion has little time to dwell on daydreams while the days of her coronation dwindle away. That is, until reports of a monster crossing from winter into spring make their way to the palace. Clarion sees defeating this threat as an opportunity to prove that she is worthy of her new role, but instead of finding a monster at the edge of winter, she finds Mallory, a young guardian of the winter woods. Together they form an unlikely bond as they race to save their lands. As their alliance warms to something more, they will discover that there is a reason warm season fairies and winter fairies must not be together, and the cost could be just as deadly as the monsters that prowl the winter woods. Yeah, that's the description of this book. This book is very popular. I think it came out last year, but it was so good. As you can tell in the description, there is something of a romance within this book. Also, I feel like all the books I recommended to you have some kind of aspect of romance in them. Outside of the romance though, I grew up watching the Tinkerbell movies, and so I know this character from those movies, and to just see like her story before she was queen was so interesting. We also get to explore Pixie Hollow more in this book, which I also love to do. Just like the other books that I was talking about, this book is also just so easy to fly through because the writing is so simple but also very captivating. You are invested in the story. You want to know what happens next. You want to know what's going on behind the scenes. All of that was just bundled up into this book, and I loved it. So yeah, that's all I have for you. I think I'm going to end the video here, but thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!